Hi everyone, welcome to the third day of Building Blocks 2022. This is the recorded stream recap of the third day's event, and you can find specific timestamps of the various talks in the description below or on the YouTube playhead. If you are looking for a specific workshop, you can also click the playlist linked in the description where you can find workshops both from our pre-event as well as the past 3 days, extracted and uploaded as its own separate video. For today, we are starting off with a lightning talk presented by Cyber Youth Singapore. Khairul Nizam is the Deputy Chief Executive for Development at Cyber Youth Collective, the community arm for Cyber Youth Singapore. He enjoys doing community work that has an impact on youth at large. In his spare time, he also enjoys learning new things, taking part in cybersecurity events such as Capture the Flag competitions, and coming up with novel solutions to further impact Singaporean youth. Let's put our hands together for Mr. Khairul.
Right. Okay, so I'll do a quick introduction of VoxOS first to kickstart the day, I think. Yeah. So a little bit of VoxOS, right? So VoxOS is basically a youth insight movement, right? So what we do is basically we advocate for people who are interested in youth to come down to our organization, and we plan different events for them to do it themselves, like in fields such as leadership, uh, and the technical skills as well, right? So we empower different youths to discover technology while providing them like a little safe space now, right? And also to make sure that they have the opportunities for them to prepare for a digital future as well. And as an organization, we have been awarded the charity status as of the 25th of November. Yeah, so it's a pretty recent shift in organization dynamics. So our vision is to empower young Singaporeans towards sustainability of Singapore from the digital perspective. Right. So because the thing is, in Singapore we have like a little tech crunch lot, right? Which is why there's no like events of building blocks. There's events like CDBC where you aim to encourage you to participate and explore like the world of IT in different aspects as well, like programming, like IT in general, cybersecurity as a whole, right? So our vision is to basically to make sure that there is enough of these programs around to make sure that all these different people can participate and explore like the IT world. Yeah. So our mission is to engage and nurture youth interested in technology to develop passionate and all-rounded professionals for the digital future. Right. So our mission is basically has two different facets, and you can see why later on, because we have two different divisions as well. So each of the divisions will explore these two missions in depth. Right. So the very first mission is for CYC, which is where I'm from, right, where we plan different events. Yeah, and then the next one will be the Cyber Youth Academy, which is to bring about like safe and widespread technological adoption, literacy and transformation through education and provision of opportunities. So you know how with like different things, different aspects of like IT, there's also like things like cyberbullying and stuff like that. So CYA's mission is to make sure that all these issues that come with like digitalization will be addressed and will be at the forefront of people's minds as you go about digitalization. So as mentioned here, so there's CYC, which is Cyber Youth Collective, and CYA. Yeah. So from where I'm from, right, and the Cyber Youth Collective is basically a national youth tech platform, right? We are a united youth firm. So all the different activities that we have, all the different plans and events that we have planned for are done by youths. Yeah, so it's for youth and by youth. Yeah. So we have a ground outreach and engagement. We have our own Discord, we have our own Instagram page, and we also have our own LinkedIn, right? Where we basically pump up all the different things that we have done and showcase what we've done as well. Yeah. And we aim to also provide an equal playing field for all. So from those who have, no experience in IT to those who have like very big experience in IT, they'll be able to come down to like share also. Yeah. So the Cyber Collective have a couple of pillars. Okay, so the CYC Discover pillar has all the different technical workshops, industry sharings, internships, and seminars as well. So we do have quite a bit of things. So we do have something called the Youth Explore series, right, where we partner with our different sponsors. If you see here, like the Flatstore UOB, Center for Cybersecurity. So we plan different like workshops with them to bring about like different categories of IT to the forefront, right? And we also have competitions as well. So we do have like CTF that will be held every now and then. We also have like different gaming sessions within our Discord community as well. And we also have like summits as well, like the CYS Summit, which is the biggest, CYS event that we have. in the year lah. Yeah. So there are some photos that we have done quite recently. So we have the recent like crash for the Interpoly crowd just recently. Actually, we just posted a few weeks ago. Then we also partner with IMDA for the Digital for Life festival lah. Right. So this was it's a tripartite type of event. So we partner with IMDA, we partner with Exabytes to come out with this workshop lah. Right. So this workshop is targeted towards secondary school youths who would want to learn more about website development lah. Yeah. And in addition to that, we also have the Cyber Youth Academy Roundtable. So this one is a fairly new and a work in progress, and it's going to be launched in the second half of the year lah. Right. The aim for this is to basically have all the different IHLs, polytechnics, polytechnics, ITEs, and universities to come on board, right, to push out different agendas and policies to basically better engage the IT crowd, right? And there will also be our collective membership. So we'll have like joining CYS will be by member basis as well, right? So there'll be different activities that are only related, will only be available for members lah. Yeah. So I'll just give CYA a quick. Yeah, it's just like I mentioned, just more for education and awareness. Yeah. So yeah, so they focus more on research as well, but that's not the key focus as of this year. Yeah. So yes, our chief executive for CYA actually was featured on the news as well, under the Digital for Life one, where they were talking about scams and stuff like that as well, like the issues that we are facing as we digitalize. Yeah. So impact wise, right, we reached out to quite a bit of people. Yeah. So as you can see, there's a broad range of people that we reach out to. So like from the very first camp in 2019 to our summit in 2021, we reached quite a lot of people, right? And in the second half of the year, we are expecting quite a bit of activities as well. Yeah. So we do hope to reach out to more people as well. Yeah. And for our identity, it's three prongs as well. So there's the organic youth leadership. So all the different leaders in CYS are all youth, right? So I'm a youth myself, and as youth, right? And we have a strong academic values like a charter lah. Yeah. Then we also, since we are a youth movement, we have the qualities of a youth lah, right? So we are agile, rebel, and we are creative lah. Yeah. So I'll go through a bit of our structure first, right? So the CYS members will elect the Council of Youth, who will appoint the board of directors, which will audit the management committee, where I'm sitting at as well. Yeah, we also do have an advisory panel to basically give us advice on like all different programming programs and events like. Yeah. So our Council of Youth, pretty straightforward. We have Ben, who is our president. We have Quick, etc. Yep. And we also, our board of directors, we have quite a bit of prominent industry players as well. We have Emil, we have Wilson, who is the director for CSI in Singtel, right? And then we also have Ryan, who is his Facebook as well. And we also have honorary legal counsel. Well, we are very honored to have them come on board as well. Yeah, Mr. Rakesh. Yes. So our advisory panel consists of various different organizations as well. So we do have like the government sector, and we have the public sector as well. The academia side, right? So we have Dr. Jenny, we have Mr. MOS Elvin, we have Mr. Gaurav here. Yeah, so it's a pretty synergized group of people. Yeah. So key management. Yeah. So we do have we consolidate quite a bit of different things as well, right? So for this QR code, we do have the indicative ranges for GPAs for IT, polytechnics, and university. Should you guys be interested in going into university, right? And yeah, and after that, we do have membership. We open to accepting members as well, right? So we do have different events and opportunities around all year round. And for the summit, we do have it's quite a big event, and it's going to be a very physical event as well. Yeah, it's 5 days in December, right? With different activities such as your esports or CTFs, and there will also be like a career fair. Should you guys be interested in getting an internship for starting university? Yeah, and then there's also different membership benefits as well, like meeting and befriending like-minded youths and community support lah. Yeah, as you go about exploring like programs and stuff like that as well. Yeah, and we are also recruiting, right? So we do have we also are open to getting volunteers come on board as well, and there are different job descriptions as well, like, so what you can do. Yeah, so I think that's all I have, and I think we open the floor to questions now.
Hello everyone, we shall leave some time for questions for Cairo. If anyone has any questions, please drop them in the chat.
But for signing up for membership, right, the level of study does not include JC and Poly students. Can only select until secondary school.
Oh, okay. So for that, just click on the lower secondary school first. Then we'll fix from it on. Yeah. Ooh, okay. So I have a question in chat which says, what happened during Summit 2021? Okay, so for Summit 2021, it was a fully virtual event given like the pandemic, right? So what we did was that we had quite a different types of events as well. So we have like things like the workshops, the hackathons as well, and we reached out to my 500 youths across the board line, right? So we reached out to secondary school youths, we reached out to all the way up to the university level, right? Yeah, and we do also have different tracks as well because different technical skills and stuff like that for our CTF competition. Yeah. And at the end of the day as well, we did have a esports component to it as well, right? So all these different people will be able to participate in like different events within the summit itself. Yeah, and on top of that, we do have opportunities for them to engage with the industry partners as well through panels. Yeah. Yes, CYS Summit 2022 will be in person. It will be a 5-day event. So details is still being worked out, right? And once we have information, we'll come up to the relevant different places, like from the secondary schools all the way up to university levels. Yeah, so do keep on lookout for that. We didn't want to go to hybrid because it was a collective decision from everyone in the management team who is planning the summit, right? We wanted it to be a physical event in December because that's where all the different people will be on holiday in December. So it will be a physical event. But we are also looking forward to recording the event as well, like some of the different aspects like the panels, the workshops, so that people who wouldn't be able to attend physically can still participate. Yeah, so that will be a virtual dining option. Yeah. Time to commit, it really depends as well on for CYC, it really depends on the project, and so it can range. Yeah, so for me, I have to basically do this full time because I'm the deputy chief executive and I do have the time since I'm in NS right now anyway, right? But for people who are managing like the different projects, it doesn't really have to be every day. It's just more of so long as you get a different job done, right? Like, for example, trying to liaise with like external stakeholders, making sure that things are all going to plan, are all done, and it's okay. Yeah. So it's how much time you're willing to put into the volunteering. Nearest CYC event for now will be UPEX Explore with UOB, which will be exploring about fintech. Yeah, so that will be in July, I think. Yeah.
All right, with that, thank you very much, Cairo, for sharing about CYS. Thank you.
No worries.
Right. Next time we'll
like STD mentioned in the chat, if you all have any if you all want to interact with CYS, we have a channel in the Discord that you can engage with them.
All right, next time we'll have a talk by Helga, who is a high school student in Japan, who will be sharing her experience studying there.
Can you see my screen?
Yeah, can.
Okay. So hello, my name is Haruka, and I'm a high school student in Japan right now. I'm in the 2nd grade. In Japan, it will be from 16 years old. So I'll just like to talk about like how Japanese programming education has been changing and how we learned in school. The first one, I'd like to talk about the primary school education. So this will be the first time for children learning computing. From 2020 in April, the Japanese government made a new policy for computer programming. They started to make computer subjects as a mandatory subject in classes. First, all the public schools in Japan had to prepare one iPad or computer for each student. And the second one is to learn more intense knowledge about computing programming from the 5th grade. So it will be around 10 years old. And from the third one is to teach like mixing science and computing, like how to make LED lights through programming, and it gets more difficult as the grade goes on. The next this is called the Giga School. This is the name of the policy that the government made. It's called the Giga School Kakume, which actually means like to make education through Giga, like from computing and like programming skills. So this is the photo of a elementary school in Japan where they use computer for note taking or they use them for discussions. Next, I'd like to talk about the secondary school and high school education. This is a photo of my high school in computer room. We do not have like a computer that we can bring all around to our home, but we all have one in the school. So we have a computer room and we all have like we can have each a computer to learn through classes. The programming skills we learn in high school are like HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. These three are the main ones, and we try to practice them by we just learn the basic parts, but eventually we make like home pages or sometimes at the last we program some easy games. The aims for the high school education is there are like 6 main parts, but just to say it briefly, like we learn how to solve problems through learning programming skills or computer science, and also like expanding our knowledge through learning how to use internet properly. Like when we want to use it for discussions, we can use the computer skills for a backup. And the biggest part is to learn the mortality of computer, like how we can use the internet as in the right way. These three are the photos of my high school programming computer programming textbooks. It's written in Japanese, but we learn these really simple codes first, and we try to type that in the computer and we learn how to use them. So these are the textbooks. And next, secondary and high school classes. In Japan, as I said, that computer is a mandatory subject, so we all have to take it whatever major you're going to. When teachers put grades, we have the same credit as like music or art. So it's like music, art, computer class is like the sub-subjects for schools. And the subject themes are called like social study and informations or information and science. And this differs in schools, but we kind of have a big part of our grades for computer classes. What I felt through learning those computer classes, I finished all of my computer classes last year, but I learned that like whenever I want to present things or when I'm looking at some information, learning how to use internet like safely and correctly by learning those in computer classes made it more easy for me to like research. And also like I can use computer skills or computer programming as an option to expand my like my view. And it's also a chance to learn or know all the global standards that computer has. It was a really good chance for me to learn, even though like not all the people take computer as a major in university. And this is a additional fact, but in Japan we have this common test to university admissions. If you want to go to like government university, we all have to take this university admissions, and usually we have like 3 to 5 subjects, but from 2025 the university exam is going to add a computer subject, so they're going to make a subject for computer science. The questions look like this, but these are the questions that I just took out from the sample questions. And before this code, there's going to be like a really long paragraph of like a Japanese reading, and you have to figure out the code through those sentences. This is all, and thank you for listening.
Thank you very much, Haruka. Do we have any questions from the audience? Does anyone have any questions regarding maybe what differences there are between the two curriculums, or anything else you want to know from Haruka?
Computer science, yeah, it's kind of a popular major in university. Like we don't take majors in high school, so people who like, yeah, for particular person, it's kind of a popular subject or course in Japan. We don't have Python, like we only learn CSS, HTML, and JavaScript. We don't learn any further of it. The databases we use are like, we only use the basic ones. I'm not sure like what we use in Singapore, but we have like a school original like a site that we can use. So we use the school made kind of like a protected area of like a searching site, and we use them. Sorry, what is like a piece of the syllabus? Like I'm not.
I think it's more of like how fast is the teaching? Is it like very hard to learn, or is it too fast for you? Or how are you following along? Yeah.
Since everyone takes it, even though you like or not, it's really slow. Like you learn it from the very, very beginning. Like first you learn from how to type, even like, so it's really slow, and it makes sure that all students can use it. So it's a really slow pace. We learn like, we learn 1 hour in 1 week. So like, my school works in 2 weeks as a set. So we have two classes in 2 weeks, and one class is about an hour. So 1 hour per week.
I think it's pretty interesting because comparing this to Singapore's computing syllabus, right? I think a lot of us start off from secondary school and then move on to JC computing. So far, if you're not sure about career options that are or subject options, there's A-level computing in Dunman High, in a lot of different schools and a lot of different JCs. So but the thing is, comparing Singapore's education and Japanese education, right? I think Japanese education starts off really from the basics and makes it, I guess, makes everyone kind of more digital literate, and so everyone is able to interact more with computers. Yeah, Haruka, if you can navigate like a few slides back to the test paper or the assessment thing.
This one?
Yeah. I think it's pretty interesting because if you see this, probably like fill in the code with blanks, right? Do you guys get a computer to run the code, or is it just theory? Do you have to write
No,
down?
we have to remember it. Like it's just paper based.
I see. Okay. Yeah. So it's really not easy. I think this is probably something similar for A-level computing actually, where I think it's for my left side looks like classification AI. Yeah. Haruka, do you have any idea what these topics are? Or no?
No, like there is like a really long passage before these questions. So like first you need to understand the passage and then do this.
Okay, yeah. I think the right paper looks quite similar to my mid-year exams actually. Yeah. Any more questions for Haruka?
Computer majoring universities, there are a lot. Like wait, I can look up for more precise information and I can send it.
All right, thank you very much, Haruka. That was a really interesting talk by you. I hope everyone has learned more about, I guess, computer science that's done universally and not only in Singapore. And we did have a talk from Ms. Nasiba yesterday from the UAE, and today we have Haruka from Japan. So hope everyone has enjoyed this. Thank you very much, Haruka. Thank you.
Thank you.
Right, okay, next up we will have another lightning talk.
In the meantime, I think everyone can check out the links that Mr. Gee sent on early on. So there's the SCS Splash Awards competition that's starting soon. And so if anyone wants to sign up for the competition, you may. And at the same time, there is the Google, I think it's a Google event, Google Cloud workshop that's happening next week. So you can actually head down to Google office. If you recall the talk from Google from yesterday, if you're interested in visiting the actual office instead of looking at the pictures, then that might be a good chance. So can refer to the link that Mr. Gee sent at 9:25. We'll resume the program soon. Oh, and I believe Khairul has also sent out the links over in the Cyber Youth Security chat, Cyber Youth Singapore chat. So if anyone has any questions or can interact with the links and interact with Khairul there. Yep.
Okay, so next up I have a top lightning talk by Jira, who's a year 6 student at NUS High and has been programming for about 5 years and has participated in various CTFs and had internships in DSO. So Jira, please.
Hi, can everyone hear me? I think my audio stopped working. Hold on.
Can you hear?
Yeah. Okay, this is better. Okay. Yeah. So hi, I am Javier, and thanks for the introduction. I have an introduction slide. It's basically the same thing. But yeah, I'm a year 6 and years high school student. I've been programming for about 5 years now. I have a blog if you want to check that out. It's programming stuff, I guess. And today what I'll be talking about is esoteric Python, or in general, just about esoteric programming. So this is a hobby that I've picked up on accident just by looking through the internet and programming for all. And what it's about, I think at least, it's about code that's weird in a way. So esoteric just means something that's intended or likely to be understood by a small number of people, blah, blah, blah. But the way I understand it is code that's weird in an interesting, fun way. So some examples you might have already seen are things like Code Golf, where you solve a problem using as few characters as possible, or syntax abuses, where code looks like it shouldn't run, but it works perfectly fine. And my favorite example, and the thing that actually got me into looking at all these weird techniques, is actually the Python documentation. So in Python, we have this thing called pathlib, and pathlib is just a collection of modules functions that help with paths. And one thing they have is you can divide a path by another path, and you can see that it just works. So I thought that this was pretty neat, and yeah, when I look at it, I still laugh a bit because it looks stupid. It shouldn't work, but it does. And it's fun in a way. And when you program like this, inherently you are looking at weird things about the language. So you're going to learn deeper about the language. So one very simple syntax abuse is, for example, this markdown list, but in Python. So in Markdown, you can define a list by just putting a dash at the start of a set of things, and that will render as a list. So why not have the same thing, but in Python? So we can do, okay. So you can do this where you can define this class. I'll explain a bit later, but basically you can have for example, this list maker class, which you can have then a to-do object. You can define the list as you would. So to do the dishes, mow the lawn, go to the store. And at the end of it, you can print to do, and you can see that it actually works. So how this works is that you have a class list maker, and then you have the constructor basically, and then you have a list. And then what you do is you can have this overriding of subtract. So when you do to do minus do the dishes, it then appends do the dishes to, for example, this list. And it will keep doing this for all three of them. And at the end, when we print to do, it runs this string and it prints do the dishes, mow the lawn, go to the store. It works. So this is a very simple syntax abuse, but just by doing something like this, you might learn about how Python parses, for example, expressions like you need to bracket this to do minus, minus, minus. You also learn quite a bit about how, for example, constructors and classes work in Python. So that's pretty cool. And of course, there's always something more useless than this. So this is something that I just did the other day, actually. So it's Wordle, but in Python, kind of. So instead of using a GUI, you just type the variable names into Python. And you can see that my IDE doesn't like that because the variables aren't actually defined. But each time you run it, it will run Wordle just as it would. So here, the variable names are actually your guesses. And this is incredibly useless in case you haven't told. You can look at the code here. It's a bit gross, but I'm not going to explain how it works. But basically, by doing this mini project, I'll actually learn quite a bit. For one thing, everything in Python is an object. And you could say this is object-oriented programming, but this is a different sense of everything is an object. I mean, everything is an object, including namespace, which is the variable to object mappings. That is also an object that, that is also an object that Python stores in memory. So you can overwrite the globals object, which is basically one of the variable mappings. And by doing this, you can actually control how the variable accessors work. So when you control how the variable accessors work, which is done inside a get item, you can actually change what happens whenever a variable is accessed. So by default, if the variable doesn't exist, it's going to raise an error. But here we can actually implement Wordle within this space that we're given. And yes, again, it's incredibly useless. If you want, you can look at the code here. I'll send it in the chat later, I guess. So yeah, that's actually all I have. So in summary, esoteric programming is fun. And basically you make problems for yourself, but you solve them later. And you can learn deeper about a language just by inventing problems for yourself to solve or giving yourself constraints that don't really make sense. So I hope that through this, you can see how fun it is. And maybe you'll write some curse code of your own. Yeah, that's all I actually have. Lightning talk, 5 minutes.
Thank you so much, Javier. Does anyone have any questions for Javier regarding esoteric Python? I think it's a really interesting talk. Thank you very much. Any questions about maybe how to start, or how would you recommend starting for esoteric Python, or do you just get down, think of a problem and then you just get down to it?
So for something like this, it's a bit bigger, obviously, but you don't want to start, for example, with something like this because there are a lot of moving parts. And for example, each of these small components are learnt through previous adventures, I would say. So it's much like regular programming, but it's not very structured. And you could start with something like this, where you have to first learn about how, for example, the syntax works, and where you might need to put a bracket, for example, all these small little details that later come together to give something like this, which is a bit more involved. There are definitely resources online, but you can't just, for example, if you have a normal class, for example, like normal Python, I guess, let's say you want to learn about how lists work, you can just Google how do lists work in Python and you'll get a bunch of resources. But here it's not as direct. You have to first think about how you're going to implement it, maybe have an idea of what might work. For example, here, what I had to check is it actually possible for me to replace how Python handles variable accesses and all this kind of stuff? And in this case, it was possible, but I could not have just Googled how do I couldn't just have Googled how do I override something in Python. I would have to identify very specifically what I'm looking for. So I'd say that if you want to do something like this or you want to get started, you have to at least have some understanding of the language you're working in so you can understand the constraints that you're working with. I think I'll just dump this link in chat in case. Okay, so is that it?
Any last questions, anyone?
How difficult would you consider learning this? So again, it's very unstructured. So you're not gonna like find a guide on how to write weird stuff in Python, for example. So that is definitely a challenge, but if you're good at learning from just the internet, then it is something that is definitely possible. Like, as for difficulty, it's definitely not something standard. So again, I think the main problem will be finding resources. But if you can read something online and then identify bits and pieces that might be interesting to use, then I think that would be a very quick way to learn it. But yeah, something small like this, there's nothing that will tell you on the internet, for example, oh, you can actually use Subtract to make a to-do list. No one's going to tell you that. At most, they're going to tell you how to, for example, implement your own subtraction methods, your own string methods, and all this. So you definitely have to be a bit more creative. But in terms of difficulty, I wouldn't say it's much more different than normal programming. But yeah, because of the nature of it, you're probably going to be looking into language features more than anything useful in a sense. So I hope that helps. For any links, yeah, again, it's about resources and creatively applying them rather than having a guide on how to do something weird.
All right, thank you very much, JB, for your time. That was a really interesting talk. Thank you. All right, right now we'll be heading into I guess, more of the hackathon. In fact, we are going to, give me a second. So we are kind of over all the talks right now. So the next component of today will be time for you to work on a pitch. And if you need any consultations, all right. So from this time until 12:30, you have until 12:30 to submit your pitch, which is today's deliverable. And then afterwards, you can spend the time to work on a code and your app demo. Between 10 and 12:30, if you need anyone in your room for consultations, please text within your Discord group chat and we'll look out for you. And then if you need to, we can drop into a voice call and help you debug the code. Or if you have any questions at all, your group officers can help you out. Please be reminded of the remaining 2 deliverables. So today is a pitch, and I believe Rayang has sent the details of the pitch into the announcement chat, which is first of all, probably inform us more about your problem statement, which is more specific than the original problem statement. And then afterwards mention about how is a valid problem, I guess what competition you guys might face, how it solves your problem, and maybe showcase a bit of a prototype. I think it was recommended that you can follow some of the content that you provided in the prototyping journal, and then you can submit it over in the form link that I will be sending out soon. And then tomorrow, please submit in your code. You can submit it in through any repo. For example, if it's Replit, then just send out the link. Otherwise, GitHub send out the link. Same thing. And then we'll be looking at your code. Tomorrow's submission deadline is, give me a second. Tomorrow's submission deadline is 10 p.m. So please do not miss it. And at the same time, final call, if anybody has lost a charger in the middle of the LT yesterday, we picked up a random charger. If you have, please PM me. Otherwise, that is it for today. Thank you very much. And closing will be conducted through a video online. I believe, let's see, Mr. Gee has just sent a link into the chat. Surprise airdrop. Okay, so Mr. Gee has sent out a blockchain form actually. So if anybody is interested for, I guess, for a special surprise, can click the link in the chat now. Otherwise, see you in Discord, and thank you very much. Any questions, please reach out to us. Our officers will help you out. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks for watching the video. To watch more, do click on the playlist linked in the description or check out our channel for more videos like these. And if you like, do consider subscribing to our channel. It really means a lot to us. Thank you and have a pleasant day.